Picture two people standing in a grocery store aisle. One reaches for a bottle of fish oil capsules. The other walks straight past it because they do not eat fish at all, whether by choice, by allergy, or because they never learned to like the taste. For decades, the second person was basically told there was no way around that gap, that fish was simply the price of admission for one particular family of healthy fats. The whole omega-3 obsession actually started with a strange observation back in the 1970s. Researchers studying communities in Greenland noticed something odd. Heart disease, one of the biggest killers in the Western world, was remarkably rare there. That was strange, because people in these communities were eating enormous amounts of fat every single day. The fat just happened to come from whales, seals, and fatty fish, loaded with two specific compounds called EPA and DHA. That single observation launched what eventually became a multi-billion-dollar fish oil industry, and decades of research built almost entirely around fats that come from the ocean. What if you could get every heart-protecting benefit fish oil promises without ever eating fish at all? Vegetarians cannot eat fish by definition. Vegans cannot touch it either, along with eggs, one of the only other food sources of these fats. And a growing number of regular meat eaters are quietly cutting back on seafood too, worried about mercury or about oceans already overfished. For a long time, the honest answer to that question was basically a shrug. There is technically another omega-3 called ALA, short for alpha-linolenic acid. It comes from plants instead of the sea, mainly walnuts, flaxseed, and canola oil. But for decades it got treated almost like the backup option, the omega-3 you settle for if you cannot get the real thing. That reputation came from basic biochemistry. Your body can technically convert ALA into EPA and DHA, the same compounds found in fish. But that conversion is extremely limited, especially in men, so nutrition scientists spent years assuming plant-based omega-3 simply could not measure up. Walnuts alone are almost unique among common nuts. A small handful, roughly a quarter cup, contains more than 2 grams of ALA, more than almost any other food you could reasonably eat in one sitting. Flaxseed is even more concentrated gram for gram, and canola oil, the kind already sitting in a lot of kitchen cabinets, carries a meaningful dose too. So the ingredients that could close this gap were sitting quietly in ordinary pantries the entire time. The real question was always whether anyone had actually tested what they do. To understand why that question matters at scale, it helps to zoom out first. Cardiovascular disease, heart attacks, strokes, and related conditions kill more people worldwide every single year than any other cause of death, more than every cancer combined. Even a modest, single-digit shift in that risk translates into an enormous number of real lives once you multiply it across an entire population. Have you ever noticed how much diet advice focuses on subtraction? Cut the salt. Cut the sugar. Cut the saturated fat in red meat and butter. It rarely flips around to what you should be adding instead. That framing matters, because saturated fat and unsaturated fat do not behave the same way inside your arteries. Official dietary guidelines already conclude there is strong evidence that swapping saturated fat for the kind of fat ALA belongs to lowers the risk of heart disease. The open question was always how much of that benefit plant-based omega-3 could deliver completely on its own. There's also a slower, quieter mechanism working underneath all of this: inflammation. Chronic, low-grade inflammation inside blood vessel walls is one of the processes that slowly turns a healthy artery into one clogged with plaque over years or decades. Fats are not neutral bystanders in that process. Some appear to feed inflammation. Others appear to calm it down. And then there is cholesterol, a word almost everyone has heard but far fewer people can actually explain. LDL cholesterol is the kind that tends to stick to artery walls and build up over time. HDL is the kind that helps clear it away. The fat you eat can nudge both of those numbers in either direction, depending on exactly what kind of fat it is. Fish oil has spent decades being marketed as brain food too, not just heart food, thanks to DHA's role in the physical structure of brain cells themselves. So naturally, researchers eventually asked the same question about the plant version. Could a fat from walnuts and flaxseed do anything for your brain, the way its marine cousin has always claimed to? That question turns out to be newer and far less settled than the heart disease research, but it is enough to make this story bigger than cardiovascular numbers alone. 3 separate landmark clinical trials eventually set out to test plant-based omega-3 directly in real patients, not just in theory. One-handed heart attack survivors a specially formulated margarine. Another handed high-risk patient a daily ration of mixed nuts. A third built ALA into an entire Mediterranean-style diet. Each one run years apart, in different countries on different populations. So here is the real question this research set out to answer. Does a plant-based fat from ordinary walnuts actually protect your heart, or does it just sound good on paper? A review pulling together the evidence, published in the journal Advances in Nutrition, laid out the numbers plainly. Pooling data from meta-analyses of observational studies, people who ate more dietary ALA had a 10% lower risk of developing cardiovascular disease overall. For one specific outcome, dying from coronary heart disease, the reduction was even larger, 20% lower risk. And the relationship followed a dose pattern. Every additional gram of ALA eaten per day was tied to roughly another 10% drop in that fatal risk. The Lyon Diet Heart Study was one of the first real trials to test this directly. Heart attack survivors were given a canola oil-based margarine supplying about half a gram of ALA a day, as part of a broader Mediterranean-style eating pattern. After nearly 4 years, that group had between 50% and 70% fewer second cardiac events compared to the control group. The PREDIMED trial pushed the food source in a different direction entirely: whole nuts. People at high cardiovascular risk, who ate 30 grams a day of mixed nuts, mostly walnuts, cut their risk of a major cardiovascular event by 28%, and their risk of stroke specifically by 45% over almost 5 years. Then came the one trial actually designed from the ground up to isolate ALA by itself, stripped away from everything else, called the alpha-omega trial. Heart attack survivors got margarine with 9 grams of ALA a day. The result was a modest trend toward fewer cardiovascular events, but it did not reach statistical significance. That last result matters because it is a useful reality check. ALA rarely shows up alone in anyone's actual diet. It usually arrives packaged together with other healthy habits: more vegetables, more whole grains, less processed food. Isolating its exact individual contribution is genuinely difficult. Underneath those headline numbers, randomized trials pooling data from dozens of studies found a consistent pattern in blood work. ALA supplementation lowered total cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, and triglycerides. Several studies also measured drops in blood pressure and in inflammatory markers, the same slow burning process mentioned earlier. Those benefits did fade somewhat in trials that ran longer than 2 years, most likely because people find it harder to stick with any new habit over time. But the direction of the effect held up consistently across both European and Asian study populations. On the brain health question, the evidence is real but genuinely early. The same review describes ALA's role in cognition as being in its early stages, with promising signals toward counteracting cognitive decline, but nowhere near the mountain of data that exists for its heart effects. It is worth being honest about the limits here too. Most of the strongest cardiovascular numbers come from observational studies tracking what people already eat, not from trials that randomly assign a diet and watch what happens next. People who eat more walnuts and flaxseed may simply live healthier lives in other ways too, and untangling exactly how much credit ALA deserves on its own remains a genuinely open scientific question. Which makes the last number in this story almost strange. Current official dietary guidelines recommend just 6 grams of ALA a day. But several of the cardiovascular benefits described in this research start showing up above 2 grams a day, roughly the amount sitting inside one small handful of walnuts or a single tablespoon of ground flaxseed. So the fat that decades of fish oil marketing pushed to the sidelines might already be sitting in your kitchen right now, quietly doing more than most of us ever gave it credit for.